The story begins on a dark night with Grace sitting alone on the stairs of a building. Her entire body is covered in blood, and while police officers surround the area, she silently smokes a cigarette. Inside the mansion behind her, the entire Ladomas family has been brutally wiped out after complete chaos broke loose. One of the police officers slowly approaches Grace and asks if she is okay and what exactly happened inside. But Grace can barely speak. The only word that comes out of her mouth is family. Moments later, she collapses unconscious on the stairs. Grace is immediately rushed to the hospital, where doctors desperately try to save her life. At one point, she even stops breathing, and everyone believes she is about to die. But during that unconscious state, horrifying memories begin flashing through her mind. She remembers everything she did to the Ladomas family that night. Suddenly, Grace regains consciousness. The doctors manage to stabilize her, and she survives. A few days later, a police officer visits her hospital room and tells her the situation is very serious. According to the evidence, the entire Ladomas family has been murdered. Grace was the last person seen with them, and their blood was found all over her clothes. Soon after, Grace's younger sister, Faith, arrives at the hospital. The two sisters have not seen each other in 7 years. Even though Grace left her long ago, she still kept Faith's number saved as her emergency contact, which is why the police called her. When Faith sees Grace in such terrible condition, she mocks her bitterly. She reminds Grace that she abandoned her years ago while trying to build a better life for herself. Faith proudly says that she now lives in New York, works in social media, has her own apartment, and is engaged to a man working in finance. Then she looks at Grace and sarcastically asks what happened to her perfect life. After all, she married Alex, a rich man from a wealthy family. Grace quietly replies that if she told the truth, nobody would believe her. Faith loses patience and prepares to leave, but Grace stops her and finally begins revealing the horrifying truth. She explains that after marrying Alex, his family never attended the wedding. Later, Alex eventually took her to meet them. At first, Grace thought they were strange but harmless rich people. But during a family ritual, they asked her to pick a card and play a game. She believed it was just some weird family tradition. Instead, it turned into a deadly game where either she would die or the entire family would. And in the end, Grace survived while the entire Ladomas family was wiped out. The story then shifts to another location, where a powerful man named Chest is introduced. He sits in front of a giant television watching news about a war taking place somewhere in the world. Calmly, he picks up a phone and simply says 2 words: "Cease fire." Amazingly, within the next minute, the news channels announce that a ceasefire has officially happened. This instantly reveals how powerful this man truly is. The world itself seems to move according to his orders. A lawyer then approaches Chest carrying a thick book and informs him that the Ladomas family is gone, but Grace somehow survived. Hearing this excites him immediately. Without wasting time, he sends a message to a secret group announcing that the Ladomas family has fallen, Grace is alive, and the game will begin soon. The message spreads across the world and reaches several powerful families in different countries. Everyone who receives it becomes extremely excited. This is where we learn the truth. All these wealthy families are secretly members of a dark council. The richest and most influential families in the world are part of this hidden cult-like organization. They operate in secrecy, controlling power and wealth from the shadows. We then learn that Chest has 2 children named Titus and Ursula. They explain that a new game is about to begin, and whoever wins it will gain the high seat, the highest position in the entire council. A special ring represents this position of power, and Chest wants that ring to remain within his family. He orders both of his children to participate and win at any cost. But the moment Chest lies down on his bed, his own children suddenly place a pillow over his face and suffocate him to death. The shocking reason behind their betrayal will be revealed later. Back at the hospital, the police begin transporting Grace for interrogation. But while escorting her, the officer is suddenly attacked by several men carrying knives. It is quickly revealed that these attackers are members of the Dark Council families. The moment Grace sees them, she immediately grabs Faith and hides because she understands exactly why they are there. They have come to kill her before the game can begin. Grace tries to escape with her sister, but one of the attackers suddenly catches up to them and attacks. Just as he is about to kill Grace, something horrifying happens. The attacker suddenly explodes to death. It turns out that the rules of the game strictly forbid anyone from killing Grace before the game officially starts. Because he broke the rules, he was instantly punished. Faith is completely horrified after witnessing this. For the first time, she finally begins believing that Grace has been telling the truth all along. Without wasting another second, Grace rushes toward the dead police officer, grabs the keys, unlocks her handcuffs, and puts her blood-covered clothes back on. As the sisters try to escape from the hospital, they suddenly come face to face with two more men carrying smoke grenades filled with poisonous gas. The poisonous gas from the smoke grenades makes Grace and Faith lose consciousness. Once both sisters faint, the men quickly take them away. The scene then shifts to a huge luxury hotel owned by the Danforth family. This is not an ordinary hotel. It has a casino, a club, and every kind of rich people's entertainment inside. More importantly, this is the place where the next deadly game is going to happen. Titus orders the entire hotel to be evacuated. Soon, 3 large cars arrive, bringing 3 powerful families to the hotel. As the guests enter, the preparations for the game officially begin. Meanwhile, Grace and Faith are tied up by the men. One of them asks to call Chest so they can start the game, but Vasella suddenly reveals that Chest died that morning. Because of that, Titus will now play in his place. Then, a lawyer arrives with a thick book and explains the rules. Since the Ladomas family has been wiped out, Grace is now the last remaining member connected to that bloodline. The next round of the game will be played with her. Whoever wins the game will receive the special ring and become the leader of the high seat. Grace immediately refuses to play, but the lawyer threatens to kill her sister Faith. To save Faith's life, Grace is forced to agree. At that moment, Francesca enters. She reveals that she deeply hates Grace because she was supposed to marry Alex before Alex left her for Grace. Now, Francesca sees this game as her chance to finally take revenge. Once again, the men inject Grace and Faith with anesthesia. Then, the lawyer gives the participating families a strange pen. Each of them fills it with their own blood and signs the book, officially accepting the rules of the game. Soon, we understand the real plan. Grace and Faith have been sedated and hidden somewhere inside the hotel property. The families must hunt them down. Whoever finds and kills Grace first will become the winner and the new leader. When Grace and Faith regain consciousness, they realize they are both handcuffed. Grace quickly helps her sister up and tells her to run as fast as she can. But Faith is terrified and says there is no point in running because these people are already waiting for them everywhere. Faith thinks they should try talking to them, but before they can decide anything, a drone suddenly distracts them. They look up and realize someone is listening to their conversation through the drone's microphone. A girl then speaks to them through the drone. She tells them that stopping this game will not be easy, but she can help them. However, before she can explain her condition, Vasella spots the drone and shoots it down. Grace immediately takes Faith and runs into the forest. Her plan is to cross the forest and escape with her sister. But when they reach the edge, they make a terrifying discovery. The entire forest is surrounded by huge walls, making escape impossible. Now, the sisters do not know whether they should return to the hotel or stay hidden in the forest. While they are trying to decide, Vasella spots them and moves closer. Grace quickly takes Faith and hides behind some wood. But before they can escape, Titus arrives and sees them. Faith notices him too and freezes in fear. When Titus attacks, Grace immediately jumps in front of her sister and takes the blow herself. Titus becomes furious, knocks Grace down, and begins strangling her. Seeing her sister in danger, Faith finally fights back. She attacks Titus, and together, the sisters beat him down long enough to escape. After running out of the forest, they find a building nearby. Faith says they might be able to escape through it, but what they do not know is that a sniper is watching them from a distance. The sniper fires, aiming to kill them, but the shot misses. As soon as Grace and Faith hear the gunfire, they run for their lives. Bullets keep flying behind them, one after another, but luckily, none of them hit the sisters. They manage to take cover. While hiding, Faith notices a cylinder and some strange objects lying nearby. She quickly places the cylinder where they had been standing and sets the other objects on fire. Smoke spreads everywhere, blocking the sniper's vision. Through the smoke, he mistakes the cylinder for one of the sisters and fires at it. The bullet hits the cylinder, causing a powerful explosion. Fortunately, Grace and Faith survive, but Grace injures her hand during the fall. They quickly enter the building, and Faith bandages her sister's wound. Just then, Viraj, a member of the Indian family, arrives. The sisters hide as soon as they see him. When he gets close, they manage to injure him and escape. But now Viraj knows they are inside the building, so he starts hunting them. While running from him, Grace and Faith discover a machine in the area. Using that machine, Grace and Faith cut through their handcuffs, but the noise gives away their location and Viraj quickly finds them. Before he can capture them, the sisters attack him. They fight with everything they have, but even after knocking him down, they do not stop. They drag him toward a washing machine, throw him inside, and Grace turns it on. Viraj gets trapped inside the spinning machine, and after being violently thrown around, he dies. Grace quickly grabs her phone and calls the police, explaining everything that is happening. But there is a twist. The call never reaches the police. Sela has already hacked the entire system, and the call goes directly to her. Pretending to be a police officer, Sela tells Grace that she is coming with a team and asks them to reach the main gate. Believing this, Grace and Faith start running toward the gate. But on the way, another woman suddenly appears in front of them, holding a sword. She says she does not want to kill Grace. Instead, she wants to make a deal. The woman tells Grace to marry her son. If Grace becomes part of her family, no one will be allowed to kill her. According to her, this will make Grace safe, and it will also help her own family win the game. Grace asks what will happen after that. Will all these sacrifices and games finally stop? The woman calmly says no. The games will continue, and Grace will also have to become part of that cruel system. Grace immediately refuses. She says she will never sacrifice innocent people just to survive. While they are still arguing, another attacker arrives and opens fire on Grace. The woman with the sword tries to protect Grace because she still wants Grace alive for her deal. But during the chaos, her sword accidentally strikes a man from another family and kills him. According to the rules of the game, killing a member of another family is punishable by death. Because of that, the woman instantly explodes on the spot. As soon as she dies, her son also dies, and every member of her family is wiped out. This reveals another brutal rule. If the leader of a house dies, everyone connected to that house dies with them. By now, Grace and Faith are both badly injured. Faith hears someone calling them from the gate, so she runs in that direction. Outside the gate, Sela and Titus are waiting. Grace pretends to call out, saying they are near the gate. When Sela and Titus move closer to check, Grace suddenly comes from behind and snatches Sela's gun. Grace and Faith then demand the PIN code for the gate. Titus refuses at first, but when Grace threatens to kill him, fear takes over, and he finally gives them the code. The sisters are just about to escape when Sela and Titus attack them from behind. Faith somehow manages to free herself and has a chance to run through the gate. But when she sees Grace in danger, she cannot leave her sister behind. Sela knocks Grace down and tries to kill her, but Faith comes running back and attacks Sela from behind, saving Grace's life. Then Faith puts her wounded sister inside a trunk and tries to get her away from the fight. Meanwhile, Francesca, who has hated Grace from the beginning, decides to enter the game herself and kill Grace directly. While she searches for her, Faith takes Grace into a room, hoping to treat her injuries. With great courage, Faith removes the objects stuck inside Grace's body. Grace screams in pain, but instead of thanking her, she becomes emotional and angry. Grace asks why Faith did not escape when she had the chance. She reminds her that Faith had a good life, a future, and a safe world outside this nightmare. Grace cannot understand why her sister would risk everything for her. Their argument becomes intense, and Faith finally walks away from Grace. But as Faith tries to get up and grab some clothes, Francesca suddenly appears in front of her. Francesca is holding a missile launcher, planning to use it on Grace. But it seems like she has never used one before, because her first attempt completely fails. When the launcher does not work, Francesca tries to attack Grace directly. But Grace quickly grabs a spray bottle nearby and sprays it into Francesca's eyes. Francesca snatches the bottle from Grace and sprays it back at her. Within seconds, both women are blinded, and the fight becomes even more chaotic. Even though both Grace and Francesca are temporarily blinded, they continue trying to kill each other. Neither of them can see properly, but the hatred between them is too strong to stop the fight. After a while, Francesca recovers first. The moment her vision returns, she brutally attacks Grace and beats her badly. Grace is almost unable to fight back, and Francesca is just seconds away from killing her. But then Grace's vision slowly returns as well. Desperate to survive, she gathers every bit of courage left inside her and launches herself at Francesca again. This is no longer just a fight. Grace is fighting for her life. She attacks Francesca with everything she has and beats her so badly that Francesca finally collapses unconscious. Meanwhile, Faith is trying to return to her sister when Titus suddenly catches her. Since he cannot get to Grace directly, he takes out all his anger on Faith instead. Faith is beaten so badly that she almost loses control completely. Thankfully, Ursula arrives and stops Titus before he kills her. Ursula then explains that keeping Faith alive is useful because Grace will definitely come back to save her sister. At the same time, Grace is desperately searching for Faith when Titus's voice suddenly comes through the radio. He tells Grace that he has Faith in his custody and warns her that if she wants to see her sister alive, she must come inside willingly. Grace quickly breaks open a locker and uses a shortcut to return inside the building. On the way, she finds Francesca again, who is preparing to attack her once more. This time, Grace wastes no time at all. She immediately shoots Francesca dead on the spot. After entering deeper inside, Grace demands to know where her sister is. But before anyone can answer her properly, another armed member appears, and Grace starts firing nonstop. Trying to survive, Grace runs into another room and locks herself inside. Soon after, Titus arrives with Faith and makes Grace an offer. He says that if Grace surrenders herself willingly, Faith will be allowed to go free. At that moment, Grace suddenly comes up with a plan. She tells Titus that if he marries her, he can get everything he wants. By becoming part of his family, the game rules would change completely. The lawyer confirms that this is allowed under the rules. Titus immediately agrees, believing he has already won. Because of this agreement, Faith's life is spared, and the sisters are reunited for a brief moment. Titus then takes Grace to his room, where servants begin dressing her like a bride. Soon after, she is brought downstairs into a hidden bunker where the Dark Council performs its rituals. The lawyer begins the wedding ceremony. A strange door beneath them opens, and both Grace and Titus drop their blood into it before signing the sacred book using their own blood. After exchanging rings, Titus officially becomes the owner of the high seat. He receives the special ring that symbolizes ultimate power over the entire council. But the moment Grace gets the opportunity, she suddenly attacks Titus and kills him herself. She takes back the ring and throws his body into the pit below, the same pit where she had earlier spilled her blood. Then Grace places the ring on her own finger. At that moment, she becomes the new leader of the entire council. Instantly, she understands the true power of the ring. Everyone present is now bound to obey her commands. Grace orders everyone in the room to bow before her, and every single person obeys immediately. For the first time, Grace realizes that with this ring, she can control all of them. But then, after everything she has gone through, Grace makes a shocking decision. She announces that she is resigning from the high seat. The lawyer remains silent because technically, Grace is not breaking any rules. Then Grace removes the ring from her finger and throws it directly into the giant cauldron below. The moment the ring falls, everyone in the room jumps into the cauldron, desperately trying to retrieve it. Chaos breaks out instantly as the families begin attacking and killing each other over the ring. Now, nobody cares about Grace anymore. The entire council becomes consumed by greed and madness, giving Grace and Faith the perfect chance to escape. The sisters are just about to leave when suddenly, every person fighting inside the pit begins exploding one after another. By killing each other, they had broken the rules of the game themselves. Within moments, the entire Dark Council is wiped out. With the deaths of these families, the cult and its horrifying rituals finally come to an end. Grace not only saves her own life, but also prevents countless innocent people from becoming future victims of this deadly game. In the end, Grace and Faith finally reunite properly after years of separation. After surviving so much pain and horror together, the sisters decide to leave everything behind and start a completely new life together. And with that emotional ending, the movie comes to an end.